You live with your mother, and I was so jealous of you both out in the woods. Trees all gray and thin like it was November the whole year around. Still had to practically cut a path through to find your place though. Funny how I always ended up there, even when I thought I gotten lost. You used to tell me so proudly that your mother had built the homestead herself, done it mostly alone and still carrying you. She always shirked and said most of it was already there when she found it. Those 3 gray wood buildings in the middle of that weird little clearing. Your mother would say the frames were only standing because the 2 of you lived there. They'd lose something and fall apart if their inhabitants left. Something beyond the physical state of neglect, she'd imply. I didn't buy it. I was stubborn back then. Still am. Lots of ways. There were woods behind the school, too, remember? We went down there a couple times not long after we was met. My mother always packed this poppy seed bread I didn't like, and I'd give it to you, and we'd crawl down the slope at the edge of the field. Through those trees, wider than the ones all around your house, thicker branches. Bits of wood, pieces of some machine spilled all through the leaves at our feet. At the bottom, there was where we used to stop and hang out. They pick each other's sentences and pretend we were cool. Older, esoteric, and hard to understand. The way the trees cradled that space. Rusted bike frame and leaves the edges. That old pest-soaked mattress from when we'd been there before. I went back there not long ago. They rebuilt the school and moved most of it sideways up the hill. Don't use the old field anymore. I didn't really get a good look at the forest. never really came over because my mom didn't like the sounds you made, the way you talked to her, or something, so I'd always walk to your house, had to go all the way through the suburbs, street lamps and gables all dim and orange and gray in the evening light. And when I got to the last street over, the woods were right there, just across the lane from the fences, and clean houses like the stories we'd always imitate when we were alone. I'd make sure no one was watching. No one ever was. Across the street, cut into the woods. It took about 10 minutes most days till I found the homestead. You were always waiting outside. We'd sit on the floor of the biggest building, all one room, huddled in blankets with the little balls of sweet. Your mother said she lived in the city sometimes. We'd sit there, leaning against each other in the colder nights, listen to your mother's stories of what you'd find if you went far enough into the woods and meant it. She'd say that's where she came from, but there was some kind of entrance there, like it was part of the story, but also like it was something more than that. And then maybe whoever was behind her bed, like my mother would never call us. And your mom would pull up moth-eaten sleeping bags, and we'd lie there and whisper to each other until one of us fell asleep. Her story has always made me feel this comfortable kind of sadness. I remember when it hurt, I ran through the subdivision next to your woods. Evening light felt deeper than before. I leapt into the trees about where I always did. Walked for hours and finally found it. Dead gray wood. Felt like the walls of the buildings had sagged somehow. Over the couple weeks since I'd been there last. Felt like a lot longer than that. I could tell just looking at it, the place was empty. that, my mom was really good to me, even though she hadn't liked you. We moved away, and my mom would tell me that's what you had done too. But I'd seen the wires and footsteps leading into the woods in the direction I'd never been. I didn't follow because I knew what they had done. Everything felt kind of wrong after that. My mother's kindness and a handful of other kids I'd meet. The kinds of families who lived in those weird, clean houses. When I visited, I tried to find your house. I thought it might still be there, or I could maybe tell where it had been, but that evening light was everywhere. I wondered if the unfamiliar houses had been built out of those thin gray trees I'd run through so many times. If the people living them now had maybe absorbed some fraction of the feeling from those days. I thought of when we walked through those streets, only a few times before you left. We talked less. Bodies grown. You were taller. We didn't imitate those stories anymore because we understood them then, and we didn't care about what they were trying to say. You said all the houses were like that too. That they scared you now that you knew the kinds of people who lived in them. I don't really know what you meant, but I nodded along anyway. You always knew more than me about things I never knew how to put words to. I guess I trusted your instincts. We hid in the brush by the overpass until it got dark. You held my hand the whole way back. You know, for a long time I've heard stories about the world you must have disappeared to. Thinly veiled trash, you know, just missing you, really. You know, I stopped, like, I knew I would, but it's like being sick, you know. It just comes back sometime. I just keep thinking about the skin of your hand, those wires driving into the woods. I'm sorry. like a child, you know? Parts of me. Well, I'll let you go. I'm so sorry I couldn't do that sooner.